All right, back for more. Now we're on to chapter 9, which is about cellular respiration, or how we get chemical energy harvested from our resources, for instance, like from carbohydrates. As you know, cells require energy from outside sources. Here we have a panda chewing on some bamboo leaves. So, in kind of as big picture stuff here, we have plants. Light energy comes into like the system, right? We take that light energy, turn it into chemical energy. Okay, that's the organic molecules, and we get some oxygen. All right, well that those organic molecules go to the mitochondria in our cells, other cells, and that energy gets processed into usable energy, which we is ATP. All right, then we give off carbon dioxide and water, which then the plants take in and combine together to make sugar, and the cycle goes on and on. Meanwhile, though, as we mentioned before, we're creating heat energy, we're creating entropy with each kind of, especially like with cellular respiration. That's big picture stuff. All right, without the light energy, we've got a lot of problems on Earth. So we're going to focus mainly on aerobic respiration versus fermentation. And at the bottom of the slide here, basically, your kind of overall picture for aerobic respiration is where we take sugar plus 6 oxygens. We're going to make 6 carbon dioxide, 6 waters, and energy in the form of ATP and heat. This is we kind of consider a spontaneous sort of process where we're not adding energy. We're actually like reaping energy from this. Now, in cellular respiration, we're just going to focus on glucose and how that is utilized. But keep in mind, like fatty acids, and if your body's really desperate, proteins can be consumed as fuel. Basically, we're taking sugar, and then sugar becomes oxidized. So basically, it's losing its electrons. That's what oxidation means. Is when a compound or element loses its electrons, versus reduction, where reduction you're gaining electrons. I like to think of oil rig. Oil, oxidation is loss of electrons, and then rig, reduction is gain. It might not seem like a big deal right now, but with photosynthesis and cellular respiration, it's very important to kind of pay attention to where the electrons are going to. Electrons end up being a very kind of subtle but super important part to this process. There is going to be this molecule called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and also known as NADH and NADPH during photosynthesis. So it's important to see how this works. This is NADH. Think of it as like a wallet for electrons that have a lot of energy. So we're going to be creating high energy electrons. We have to put them somewhere. Well, NADH is the molecule that will hold on to them and then carry them from one place to another, and then go on about its business. So an overview of cellular respiration, there's 3 kind of main stages, maybe a half stage in between. We have glycolysis. Glyco means sugar. Lysis means to break down. So during glycolysis, glucose is broken down into 2 different molecules of pyruvate. After glycolysis, there's actually an intermediate step. Then we have what's called the citric acid cycle or Krebs cycle. Sometimes it's also known as the TCA cycle. And then that takes glucose and basically extracts as much energy as it can get out of it. And then the very last step is something called oxidative phosphorylation, and that's actually responsible for most of the ATP that your body or a cell will make from a sugar. So kind of as an overview, glycolysis is occurring in the cytoplasm. Then those products from glycolysis go into the mitochondria. And then the citric acid cycle actually occurs in the matrix of the mitochondria. And then oxidative phosphorylation occurs in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. And actually, part of it is in the intermembrane space and part of it's in the matrix. Okay. Like I said, oxidative phosphorylation is responsible for most of the ATP during cellular respiration. But there are going to be little parts here and there, which we're going to call substrate level phosphorylations, where you get an ATP that's made, but it's not necessarily made during oxidative phosphorylation. Here would just be a little example of, we have something called adenosine diphosphate, which is like an adenine with two phosphates. And then we can take something, we got an enzyme, we have substrate, and we slap a phosphate onto ADP, and that makes ATP. And that's all we have for our introduction to cellular respiration.